Hello everyone and welcome to my review for the Horrido campaign for the Focke-Wulf 190 Anton in DCS World. So just before I get started, I should probably mention once again that I didn't actually pay for this campaign, but neither did the devs. This was bought for me by Judas, long-running supporter of the channel, who really wanted to see me play this. I did ask if possible that I do a review once I have done the campaign, so all opinions are still my own and everything, and he is not financially involved with the devs in any way, but just wanted to highlight that there. Otherwise, on with the review. So the Horrido campaign is brought to us by Reflected Simulations, who are a long-time favourite for this channel. They do really good campaigns. And this time they set their sights on the Focke-Wulf 190 Anton and the only paid for Focke-Wulf campaign that I am aware for in DCS. Now this is the Anton variant specifically that this campaign is there for. It does have a couple of bonus missions included in the files that you can play along with in the Dora if you want to. The actual campaign itself is all an Anton module. Should also be noted that in order to play along with this campaign, you do need the World War II assets pack, and so that is an additional expense on top of everything. And this is also on the channel map, which is again another purchase, especially because the channel map is the less popular one online since Normandy 2.0 came out. And so you may very well need to pick up the map for the campaign as well. So one thing to bear in mind just going into this review is there is quite a steep paywall getting into this if you've not already got a lot of these background modules that you need to go along. Absolutely not the campaign's dev fault, laying that blame entirely on ED and their current iffy business model, but that is the way it stands. As for the story of this campaign, it is 1944, D-Day has happened. You are being assigned as a veteran pilot to take over a wing of much less experienced pilots, generally with the goal of just keeping these guys alive. This is very much in the ending days of the Third Reich, and so you are very much going to be outnumbered, and it really is just a case of trying to keep alive, trying to do what you can, while trying to make sure that your guys make it home in one piece more often than not. Now, I've recently finished doing a full playthrough of this campaign on my channel, and I have to say I absolutely had a blast with this one. I don't think any mission was a disappointment in any way. Really good fun from beginning to end. Every mission is a little bit different. There are certainly some themes that come up quite often. You've got several missions that are escort missions, several missions that are intercept missions, several that are kind of free hunt missions. But each one does have its own unique character, whether that's a little bit of different weather, a little bit of different setup, or some surprises that get thrown along the way. And so every mission is a hit on this one, which is always something that I'm very happy to see. There are absolutely no do-nothing filler missions. There are a couple that are briefed to be kind of do-nothing filler missions that seem to just be fly from A to B and nothing's going to happen. But every single time something happens, really good fun playing through this. Every mission is a star in its own right. I think the dev has done a really good job at capturing the kind of feeling of 1944 Luftwaffe, that you're not winning this. You are very much on the losing side of the war here, and you do definitely feel that as you go through the campaign. You're very often being outfaced with planes. You can't really out-dogfight the Spitfires or the Mustangs. You can kind of keep up with the Jugs when they turn up, but it's more of an even match there. And you are generally outnumbered, especially as the campaign goes on. You get more and more outnumbered as fewer and fewer pilots are left on your side. And so you really do get this feeling of slowly being worn down. And yeah, that's not going to be for everyone, so do just bear that in mind going into this. you're not going to be going into this expecting to turn the war around. The war is lost. You are losing the war here. This is just you doing your best to survive, and I think he's done a really good job at capturing the mood of all of that. Really helped by some excellent voice acting. Another little note here is the voice acting is entirely in German, so you will have to be reading subtitles, so just if you're someone who really hates subtitles, just bear that in mind. You can get by without paying too much attention to the subtitles, but it is worth paying attention there, because a lot of the missions do throw up some anomalies, some things you weren't expecting. But I've got to say the voice acting from the German voice actors is really, really top-notch. I don't speak German, so I don't know how well translated everything is, but from a point of view of getting the emotions and severity across, every single voice line hits absolutely fantastically. And very nicely on some missions where you've got longer stretches. There aren't that many that have long flight stretches, but on those that do, there's very often era-appropriate music that cuts in, which is actually just a really nice feature, just bringing up the mood. There's also a number of era-appropriate news reports that go in, kind of filling you into the war as a whole. And thinking about the missions, I have to say that I did enjoy the mixture of missions. By far my favourite is the intercept missions. Going on, taking on these big boxes of B-17s is amazing fun in DCS World. It's a really fun challenge, really interesting, and the Focke-Wulf Anton really handles those excellently. It is a superb interceptor. It is a lot of fun to get up there and see how much you can knock out during those. I would like to have seen a little bit more ground bombing missions. There weren't that many that involved dropping bombs, and I do like dropping bombs in the Anton. It is good fun. It is a good low-level attacker, and there aren't that many there, but that's pretty much my only complaint from the mission balancing point of view. There are plenty of other options there. You've got plenty that put you up against fighters, normally a big disadvantage where you're just trying to survive. There are quite a few there with a bit more mixed battles, a lot where you're hunting things. Really, really good variety there. Another thing that I really have to praise for this mission is just its sense of scale and the world building. So I've already mentioned the voice acting things, which certainly does add, but just the background details are really, really nice. You do get calls going throughout of other flights getting involved in engagements, coming back from bombing raids and so on. And very often you do see them. These aren't just imagined flights. There are other flights going around. You can see them in the contrails in the distance. You see massive battles play out that have nothing to do with you or your mission. And you just see these happening. You can absolutely fly towards them if you want to. I did in one of my missions. Just went and decided to do an intercept because I'd messed up the beginning of it. And yeah, these are big, big battles that are taking place. Really gives a sense of scale, especially when, you know, you're warned that there are a lot of enemy aircraft in the area. And indeed, when you're flying on the way, you just see these massive formations up high, contrailing above you that you desperately don't want attacking you. And there's all sorts of other little bits and details that you can find, little bonuses throughout the missions that you may find, you may well not find. One that I completely missed that Judas did happen to encounter is an homage to the No Bullets Fly event where a damaged B-17 was escorted back by a friendly. They pretty much have a copy of that in the mission where there is a heavily damaged B-17 limping on its way back home that you may or may not happen to encounter. Really, really nice details, loads of those sprinkled in. Now, there are two things to be aware of that I would want to mention in the review. The first is if you are new to the Anton, this is absolutely a good introduction module. But before you pick up the Anton, do be aware it is not an air superiority fighter at this stage in the war. You are very much outclassed here, so do bear that in mind. If you want something where you're going to be scoring aces every round, this is not going to be a campaign for you. You're very much at a disadvantage. Certainly with the bomber intercept missions, I managed to score quite a few. Managed to have some decent fights in there against things like Mustangs, but you always feel that you're at a disadvantage. So if that's not for you, bear that in mind before picking this one up. The other thing that I would want to mention is there is an airfield taxiing bug currently throughout my playthrough, which is really quite irritating. The airfield just has very often some of your flight just take off in the wrong direction. They take off at about a 30-degree angle to the runway that they're supposed to be taking off at. That means they plough into trees, and this can mean that you easily lose most, if not all, of your allied support there. This never caused me to fail a mission. I always managed to limp through, but it definitely put me at a massive disadvantage on these. This, I believe, is just a DCS issue. Just before I started this campaign, there was an issue with all sorts of maps where the ground taxiing ended up being really messed up, and I think that's just the effect here. This may well be fixed by the time you're watching this, but do just bear that in mind. It was a notable pain. While I'm at the topic of DCS bugs, it is worth noting that, again, at the time of recording, the Focke-Wulf Anton's canopy is awful in terms of reflections. You just get this really ugly, awkward, bright reflection whenever it is the evening or the morning. And that can be really, really problematic. This is well over the top in terms of canopy reflections. You're basically blind in one direction when fighting in these twilight times. That's really not a lot of fun. It's really distracting. You basically turn around and just see a white space behind you. And very often this campaign does feature battles in the morning and evening, so this has come up a lot. I am running a mod which makes this a little bit better, but it still isn't fantastic, as I'm sure you can see with some of the images that I'll hopefully be posting in the background here. And the last thing I just wanted to touch on again is this campaign does run on the channel map. Now, there's nothing wrong with the channel map. I love it. It's really, really detailed. But it has kind of been completely replaced by Normandy 2.0, which covers most of the same area in kind of more detail in a lot of areas, if not at least the same detail. It's much more popular for online maps. It's much more popular for the majority of single-player campaigns. And so it is kind of hard to suggest picking up the channel map for this campaign if you've not got the channel map already. So yeah, to sum up, I personally really, really love this campaign. This is right up there with my top campaigns that I've ever played through. Definitely challenging for the top World War II place. I can't think of a better one. I did enjoy this more than Jagdflieger. There's just a little bit more mission variety there. And up till now, Jagdflieger was my favourite World War II campaign. So really, really good if you're wanting a World War II campaign. Really worth the money. My only caveat here is that I would be hesitant to suggest that someone pick up the Anton and the World War II asset pack and the channel map just for this campaign. If you've already got those modules, then yeah, absolutely, I'd say this is a no-brainer. If you've got the Anton, you've got the channel pack, pick this up. You'll have a hell of a fun time playing it. But as with all DCS World War II things, it is kind of hard to recommend getting into this just because of how much you have to pay to get into DCS World War II in the first place. Once again, absolutely nothing against the campaign dev here. He has done a fantastic job. Absolutely love this from beginning to end. But do just be aware of the cost that you'll be paying. Either way, I absolutely love this campaign, so once again, thank you, Judas, for gifting this to me. It was a hell of a lot of fun, and thank you, all of you, for watching along with this series. I have really enjoyed it. Next week, I will be returning to the Gamblers campaign, which has hopefully been fixed now, and so we can jump back in there. Anyway, I hope to catch you in future videos. Until then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.